Let me ask you a question. When we say the cloud is everywhere, where is it actually? Because the cloud isn't floating around the internet. It lives in very real places, in very real buildings, and in very real parts of the world. And understanding this is a big part of understanding AWS, and a big part of the Cloud Practitioner exam. Welcome to Learn Data Easy. This is the series where we break down cloud, data, and AI concepts without jargon and without stress. I'm Charlene. I work in data and AI, and my goal is to help you understand the foundations behind the tools that power modern analytics and machine learning. In this episode, we're going to answer a very simple question. Where does the cloud actually live? And we'll do it using plain English and clear examples. Let's start with the biggest building block, an AWS region. So a region is a physical location in the world where AWS has data centers. For example, places like Ireland, Frankfurt, London, Virginia, Tokyo, or Sydney. You can think of region like a city. Each region is geographically separate from the others. This means that if something goes wrong in one part of the world, it doesn't affect everything else. Choosing a region close to your users also means faster performance and lower delay, which AWS calls lower latency. You've probably heard this before. This is what people mean when they say AWS has global reach. Inside each region, AWS has multiple availability zones, often called AZs. An availability zone is a separate physical data center with its own power, cooling, and networking. These data centers are close enough to work together, but far enough apart that a single problem doesn't take them all down. This setup is intentional. It's how AWS provides high availability and fault tolerance. If one availability zone has an issue, your application can continue running in another one. Most of the time, users don't even notice anything happened. These two terms sound similar, so let's make them simple. So high availability means your application stays online even when something fails. And then fault tolerance means your application keeps running without interruption when something fails. AWS achieves both by encouraging to use multiple availability zones and by designing systems that expect failure, instead of pretending it won't happen. Before the cloud, companies had to guess how much hardware they would need. Guess too low and the website crashes. Guess too high and well, you're wasting a lot of money. AWS removes this problem. So with elasticity and automatic scaling, AWS can add more resources when traffic increases and remove them when traffic drops. You only pay for what you actually use. This idea is often described as no more capacity guessing, and it's a core cloud benefit. So far, regions and availability zones are where your applications actually run, but AWS also has something called edge locations. Now, edge locations are similar sites spread around the world that store copies of content closer to users. So services like Amazon CloudFront uses edge locations to deliver things like images, videos, and websites faster. Instead of every user accessing data from one far away location, content is served from a nearby edge location. This reduces latency and improves performance. When you put all this together, AWS lets you build systems that are global, reliable, and fast without building any infrastructure yourself. You can deploy to multiple regions for global users, use availability zones for resilience, and use edge locations for speed. That is why AWS works so well for modern applications, data platforms, and AI workloads. So let's quickly recap. So a region is a physical location where AWS runs data centers. Availability zones are separate data centers inside a region that provides high availability and fault tolerance. Edge locations cache content close to users for faster performance, and elasticity means that AWS can scale automatically without you guessing capacity. If you understand these ideas, you've mastered one of the most important parts of cloud computing. In the next episode, we're going to talk about security, so specifically the AWS shared responsibility model. And I'll show you why security in the cloud is actually much more logical than it sounds. If this has helped, subscribe, and let's keep learning AWS the easy way. See you next time.